Hey, good morning, good morning, good morning, guys. How are you guys doing today? How are you guys doing today? Hey, this is Gregory Wiles coming live to you from Houston, Texas, with this inspirational morning talk. For first-time listeners, I'm on Thursdays at 8:45 a.m. Central Time. That's our time in Houston, but today is day 7 of a 7 days in a row talk that I have been doing. This is day 7 today. I'm excited about the word today. I'm just as excited as you are for the word that God gave me to share with you guys. And day 7, I'm here on the beautiful Margaritaville Resort. Margaritaville in Conroe, Texas. I have to do some work for them. Today, so I got here. So just before I get started, I got to get this word out. But it's the beautiful Margaritaville Resort. If you're ever in Texas and Conroe area here, just right outside of Houston, it's a beautiful resort here. But anyhow, I can get this word out today on day 7, man. Day 7, I'm excited. So here it is boiled down to. Let's look at John 6:26 through 29. John 6:26 through 29. And see what all of this boils down to. When Jesus was, I think he just had fed the 5,000 and all that, and performed all these miracles, and then he left, and these people was looking for him, and then they catch up with him, and they said, Rabbi, when have you come here? And this is how we answer them. Right here. He said, Jesus answered, very truly I tell you, you are not looking for me, not because you saw the signs I performed, but because you ate the loaves and had your fill. Do not work for food that spoils, but for food that endures to eternal life, which the Son of Man will give you. For on him God the Father has placed his seal of approval. Then they asked him, what must we do? What must we do to do the works God required? They asked him, Jesus, what must we do to do the works that God require of us? Here Jesus answered. The work of God is this, to believe in the one who has sent him. So Jesus is saying, man, this whole thing boils down to just believing. To do the works that God wants you to do is just to believe in him, believe the things that he said, man. That's what this whole thing boils down to, just believing in him, right? This is John 6:28. They asked him, what must we do to do the works God require? Jesus responds, the work of God is this, to believe in the one who sent him, man. And that's all we got to do is believe. I did a quick word check. For believe, right? And here what I find. Taking a wider view, believe appear 272 times across 27 New Testament books, with John's Gospel containing most references at 98. John had mentioned the believe. The Littleton Wilds, good morning. How are you doing? John had mentioned this thing to believe. No wonder why John was called a friend of God, and he was the one that was chosen to the right revelation, because he get this concept to believe, right? John's Gospel containing the most references, 98. Believe occurs 126 times across Acts through Jude, with Acts having most at 35. Adding counts of believe, believed, believes, or believing, and other forms bring the total of 521 occurrences, right? So, guys, the only thing, Clifton Mosley, good morning. So the only thing he's saying, Jillian Wiles, good morning. How are you doing, big sis? So what he's saying, man, we got to believe. That's what he says boil down to, man. It's simple. He's saying just believe, right? So let's look at a few stories here, because you might say the only problem with believing, right, what most people have, you believe that you can get yourself out of the situation that you're in, right? You believe it, all right. But the problem is, he doesn't tell us when. He don't tell us when, and that's the problem. You know there's a start, you're good, and then it's going to end sometime, right? Because you believe the whole thing about seasons, and there's a season to born, and a season to die, and a season for this, and a season for that. So you know your season might be over for who you're dealing with. But it's in the middle there. It's in the middle, because he don't tell you when. He don't tell you when it's going to be over, but you got to continue to believe, right? You remember when the man Jairus come to him to heal his daughter was dying. On his way, the woman touched him, who was bleeding for 12 years. She was in her situation for 12 years. 12 years, right? Then she believed that if I could only touch Jesus' cloak, if I could only touch Jesus' garment, the edge of his garment, I'm going to be healed. She believed, but she waited 12 years, right? And then after that, when he was talking to her and asked who touched him, word come to Jairus that don't bother to teach you no more because your daughter's already dead. Jesus took a little too long to come, man. Your daughter already dead. So tell him not to come anymore. And Jesus turned to him and said, don't worry about what you're hearing. Just believe. Right? Jesus tell him that. When he was going to heal Lazarus, they come and tell him, Lazarus is dying. Mary and Martha send word to him. Jesus said, I'm coming. And he delayed 4 days. Lazarus dead in the tomb, stinking. And when he come, here we tell him Martha here. Let me see. He told Martha, you got to believe. You got to believe. So how much of us like that? Jesus is taking a little long to come, right? We're in our situation, we're praying to him and we believe him, and he's taking a little long to come, and we're giving up hope. We're giving up hope. Then the devil gets in our mind and telling us, hey, you know what? You know, God probably forget about you. This thing ain't working. You're doing something wrong. You're doing something wrong. You know, just try something else. And then we go and we give up and we try something else, right? We go and we try something else, and we didn't continue to believe, right? So let's look at a few little things here. Let me look at Mark 9:20-23. Mark 9:20-23. So they brought him. When the spirit saw Jesus, it is immediately threw the boy into a convulsion. This is when this boy had this spirit in him, and the disciples couldn't get it out. The disciples couldn't get it out, and they bring the boy to Jesus, right? So this is when Jesus talking to the Father. When the guy bring the boy to the Father, brought the boy to Jesus. This is where we're picking up the story from here now. So they brought him. When the spirit saw Jesus, it immediately threw the boy into a convulsion. He fell to the ground and rolled around, foaming at the mouth. Jesus asked the boy's father, how long has he been like this? From childhood. You see this guy waiting since childhood to get his relief, right? From childhood, he answered, it has often threw him into the fire or water to kill him. But if you can do anything, take pity on us and help us. And here Jesus respond, if I can, you know who you're talking to? If I can, Jesus replied, everything is possible for one who believes. Jesus said, hey, look, get yourself together. You tell me if I can do something? I am Jesus, bro. If I can? Then he went on to say, anything is possible for one who believes, guys. Everything is possible for the one who believes. Now the problem is, what are you believing in? Okay, he said everything is possible for the one who believes. What are you believing in? Right? What are you believing in? He said, if you believe in me, everything is possible. Man, that's powerful, man. Everything he's saying is possible. Let's look at the next story here. Let's look when Jesus raised Lazarus, right? As after he come to the tomb, he just tell him, when he first meet Mary and Martha, they tell him, man, Jesus, if you were only here a little earlier, my brother would not have been dead. If you'd come a little earlier, he would not have been dead. And Jesus said, look, I'm the resurrection, the truth, and the life. Whoever believes in me, and Jesus tell him, if you believe that, you believe that. Right? How much of us like that, right? No, man, Jesus said, where were you last week, man? Where were you last week? If you the only show up last week when they was putting me out, when I get a final notice, man, when they cut my light off, where were you last week, Jesus? Why you take so long to come? And he's saying, you still got to believe, man. You got to believe. You got to believe. This is what Martha was telling, man, if you would only come a little earlier, man, my brother would not have been dead. He said, you still believe he could come back? She said, yes. So now, when he actually went to the tomb, that's where we can pick it up from here now. When he actually went to the tomb, here what happened. Jesus once more, this is John 11:38 through 44. Jesus once more, deeply moved, came to the tomb. It was a cave with a stone laid across the entrance. Take away the stone, he said. But Lord, Martha said, the sister of the dead man, by this time there's a bad odor, for he has been there for 4 days. So she began to give him this something in Marjorie Science here. Jesus, you don't know, this man dead 4 days now. His body's starting to stink by now, man. He dead 4 days now. Then Jesus said, didn't I tell you that if you believe, you will see the glory of God? That's all he wants us to do, is believe. Don't matter how bad the situation look. He's dead 4 days, he's stinking. Jesus saying, you still believe, man? Then I tell you, if you believe, you can see the glory of God. Then I tell you, if you believe, you're going to see the glory of God. So they took away the stone. Then Jesus looked up and said, Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I knew that you always hear me, but I said this for the benefit of the people standing here, that they may believe that you sent me. That's all he is stressing on. He's saying, I just do this for these people. I know you're going to raise Lazarus up. I know. But I just doing this so these people can believe. That's the key thing in everything, man. That's this whole 7 days that we want me to wrap up. Telling people it's that simple. We just got to believe. We just got to believe, right? So let's see how it's end off. When he had said this, Jesus called in a loud voice, Lazarus, come out. The dead man came out, his hands and feet wrapped with strips of linen and a cloth around his face. Jesus said to them, take off the grave clothes and let him go. Take off the grave clothes. Let the man go. I'm Jesus. If you believe, he said everything is possible for the one who believes, right? Even though your situation will look like it's dead. Even though your situation look like it's dead, it's stinking, it's buried. He's saying, if you believe, everything is possible. Let's look at one more here, man. Let's look at one more here. Like I said, it's 500 or something times you can find this thing, believe, and you got examples in here. Let's look at one more here. In Matthew 9:20 through 22. Just then a woman who had been subject to bleeding for 12 years, I just referenced this, right, came up behind him and touched the edge of his cloak. She said to herself, if I only touch his cloak, I will be healed. She believed, if I only touch this man called Jesus' cloak, I can be healed. If I could only touch it, she believed it with all her heart. Jesus turned and saw her. Take heart, daughter, he said. Your faith has healed you. And the woman was healed at that moment. She believed in all her heart. If I could only touch Jesus' cloak. I know I was bleeding for 12 years. But my answer is right here. This is my answer. I heard all the works that he did. I heard about all the works that he did. If I could only touch him, I'm going to be healed, man. And that's the kind of thing we got to get. We got to believe, right? So that's how we boil down this whole thing. When these people asked him, what must we do to do the works God requires? What must we do to do the works God requires? And Jesus responded to them, the work of God is this, to believe in the one who sent him, guys. So guys, man, I finding it easy these days just to believe and trust him, man. It takes a lot of pressure off of himself. He said, don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow will provide for itself. It's taking a lot of pressure off of me, you know, because I don't know. I ain't got to fix all these stuff by myself. I don't got to fix it all by myself. I'm going to left this story with you. People who listen often know it. It's the story about the Chinese bamboo tree. I'm going to left this one again because every time I attempt to get a little frustrated and that God taking a little long to show up in my life, he's always remind me of this story. Of the Chinese bamboo tree, to look it up, and I'm gonna say it again. You gotta, when you plant this seed for the Chinese bamboo tree, year one, you plant it, you gotta prune the ground, you put the seeds in the ground. Year one, nothing come up, but you still gotta keep watering it, you still gotta keep pruning it, you still gotta keep the ground nice and clean with all the weeds and everything. Year two, Nothing come up. By the time you getting a little anxious, you getting a little antsy, you know what I mean? Nothing, I ain't seeing nothing. I mean, this thing for real. Maybe these seeds rotting in the ground. Year 3, nothing. By the time people telling you you're crazy, what you still holding on? You know what I mean? You know, try something. People giving you all kind of solutions and all kind of remedy for your situation because you're going crazy. Every day you want to be watering and clearing this land and nothing coming up. You're saying something and come up year 4, nothing. You starting to doubt yourself. No, man. Like, I mean, am I doing something wrong here? Am I doing something wrong? Year 5 now, you get a little bit of encouragement because you see a little shoot come through the ground, a little bud come through the ground. But by the time you go home and come back, the tree is tall like you. And in 6 weeks, it reached 90 feet tall. You're almost watching it growing in front of you. You're just watching it and it keep growing. Now the question is, did it take 5 years to get to 90 feet or 6 weeks? Did it take 5 years to get to 90 feet or 6 weeks to take to get to 90 feet? Because the higher you got to go up, the further you got to go down. So for the tree to reach 90 feet in 6 weeks that quick, it had to go down first. When you're building a building, before the structure start going up, where to start going? Putting the foundations going down. So you got to go down to go up. And the higher you go up, it depends on how far you go down. Like a building. A building is limited, the height of a building is limited to its foundation. So the farther you go down, the higher you can go up. Right? A seed, you have a seed on your shelf in the store. Those seeds is nothing. Not until it go down in the ground before it could come up. And before the seed becomes a tree, the seed got to be willing not to be a seed anymore. The change has got to happen. So the situation we're going through, we are changing in the process. You can't be a seed and be a tree at the same time. And for the seed to grow up and be a tree, it got to go down in the ground. Right? And we could go on with more examples. So he said, continue to believe. When you've gone down in the ground there and it's dark and it's cold in that soil, it don't feel good. It don't feel comfortable. But you're going to come up and be a big tree. Right? For some of us, that thing is 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5 years. We don't know. This woman wait 12 years. We don't know. He don't tell us the in-between, but he's telling you, if you believe, you're going to see the results. But the in-between is what scares us, guys. So I'm going to leave that there. And we got to graduate from stop living by sight and live by faith. We don't walk by sight, we walk by faith. We got to graduate to the level. All right, guys. So this is day 7. I wrap it up here, man. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for this journey. If anyone, these message was for you and it touched you, just put amen in the comments, man. Thank you guys. I can go back to my Thursdays, and then wherever God lead me from there, I'm going to just follow his instruction. As Paul tells Saul, obedience is better than sacrifice. All right, guys. Talk again on Thursday.